Welcome back to a little more Lego M.A.T.V. So, let's see if we can keep up this trend of finding the power bricks. Didn't find any in that first level, but I figure let's just keep going. We are on the final level of Riddler's Revenge story arc. You know what? Let's be one of the Freeze Girls. After all, I've been given the nickname the Ice Princess in a few places. Of course, that's not to say that I'm a callous person. It's more about the idea that I like the cold. It's a lot easier to warm up, in my opinion, than it is to cool down. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer the colder weather. So with that 4 times score. That's nice. So let's see, do I still have the ability to double jump? Wait, what? How, am I deflecting bullets? I gotta be perfectly honest, I really don't know that much about the Freeze Girls other than, well, they're Mr. Freeze's henchmen, but the idea that they could deflect bullets like that, is that something that belongs to the comics? It's different. Especially for what would basically be a standard henchman type character. Estrogen is strong in this one, that I get to play as Batgirl as well. Is that all that's in these? Is just more studs? Let's see, I think 3 is the magic number. For any of you Schoolhouse Rock fans out there. I would attempt to sing that, but well, I don't really know all of it. Am I just gonna start singing a whole bunch of Schoolhouse Rock songs? Well, I would have to say, in terms of all the math related songs, Zero is probably my favorite. My hero, Zero, such a funny little hero, who invented you? Counted on the fingers and toes, now here to stay. Now nobody really knows how wonderful you are, but we could never reach a star without you, Zero, my hero, how wonderful you are. I know I just kind of skipped to the end there, but, well, you never know when the copyright police might start cracking down, so I don't want to sing the whole song. I wonder what these X marks. I would attempt to do oh, they're gargoyles, that's what it is. Not to be confused with the hit animated series from the 90s. I've heard a lot of good things, but one of these days I gotta get to watching the show. Then again, I will admit that I just started rewatching Gravity Falls again, and it's strange. It's somehow, I think the series is actually a lot better than the first time I saw it. I think the problem is I was just so betrayed because the first episode set up such a grand story, and then that just wasn't touched upon for a very long time. And I'm just like, what? You set up all this stuff, this fantastic setting, the secret passage, all that, and nothing. Nothing for the longest time. But I think in realizing that during that early section, it's more about these ice dolls jump? No. Anyway. In realizing that it's really just about the fun, zany adventures the characters go on, as well as just, well, the fun characters, I'm having a lot more fun with it. I'm realizing that the writing in it, I remember there was this one reviewer online that said the writing was very similar to the golden age of The Simpsons, and Well, from the clips of the Golden Age from The Simpsons, I can very much agree. There is very good writing in Gravity Falls. In fact, there's just a few moments where I find myself laughing out loud, which I did not expect, because I very much felt betrayed by the show. But yeah, I guess a first impression isn't always everything. I was very much hoping that I could maybe blow up with dynamite, that's what it is. It's like one of those old Warner Brothers cartoons. Somehow there was just always dynamite everywhere. For a second I was just about to quote Gideon. I can buy and sell you, old man. Yeah, fair enough. Which, it's especially fun going back to it now, because, well, I'm not sure if I've really mentioned this, but I am a huge fan of Amphibia. And wouldn't you know that Gideon's father is the same voice as Mayor Toadstool? And I'm just like, oh hey, I know who that is. And it also answers the question why that voice sounded so familiar. It's because I had heard it somewhere else. So, yeah. Gravity Falls. There's definitely a reason why the show is looked upon so favorably. It kind of ushered in a new era. In fact, that was the big thing. Like, even when I felt betrayed because I was more interested in the stories than the characters the first time I watched it, I was very amazed how much they were really pushing the envelope. I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm surprised they're doing this for a Disney show? Of course, the other big thing to mention right now is I very much grew up in an era where you couldn't say death or killed in a kid's show. So whenever such things are said as if it's no big deal, I'm just like, wait, what? It's just such a strange thing to me. I consider that very boundary pushing, and yeah, this was definitely one of the first shows to do that, at least from Disney. Then again, I mean, like, Gargoyles got pretty dark, I hear. But I guess for more modern shows, because I feel like in the 90s, sensitivities were a lot less back then. Like, you didn't have to worry too much about angry parents calling in for objectionable material. Well, sort of. I mean, that's kind of how the Garbage Pail Kids got canceled, but I think that show was just straight up objective for so many people that it was like, there was more than just parents that wanted it off the air. I didn't show how many kids were that interested in it. So let's see, shoot 3 security cameras. Ooh! And is that the power brick in there? I thought I saw something. I'm losing my mind. I'll probably figure it out when I edit the footage again. I need a double jumper. Yeah, girl power. Get Poison Ivy and Pector together. Everybody's really just talking about... Oh, interesting. Perhaps there wasn't anything there. Well, let's get back in that chopper and see what is behind that other piece. Okay, so there's nothing there, it was just studs. Let me see, is there a third one, or no? Doesn't look like it. Okay. And now it's just into the bank and straight to the vaults. Hopefully I won't be quoting Goldfinger too much, so... But as of now, that's the only cassette I have on Betamax. But, all in good time. I am planning on getting a few more beta cassettes, and maybe even doing a little bit of a comparison between beta and VHS. The only thing is, I have to figure out how to fix the machine again. The reason it was given to me, well, not given to me, the reason I bought it at a cheap price was because the belt was severely destroyed. Took forever to clean it up and whatnot and get it working again. Well, the replacement belt also broke. So I guess that's just kind of a single point of failure in this particular model, but hey, I guess that just means that if I can get a good solid belt in there, all the other stuff should be pretty well preserved, as it hasn't really had a whole lot of use to be able to get anywhere and tear. I have no idea where the dispenser is for this map, but hey, might as well clean up the garbage. Once again, just such an odd design, especially the idea that, well, let's be honest, these LEGO games are usually aimed at a more younger audience. Kids, ones that probably have to do chores. Like vacuuming around the house. Yeah, who am I kidding? When you're an adult, you gotta do it as well. Aha! Break the glass. There we go. That's what's happening. But that is probably the main thing I will say about the LEGO games is, while the audience for these games may be younger, I feel like they put a lot of effort into these games. It's one of the things I always love Cyberpunk 2077 for is, I feel like, yeah, we've definitely had a lot of games where, like, you've had objectionable material, like, well, everybody wants to point to Doom, the original Doom back in the 90s. Night Trap, I think that was probably the first one to start the conversation, as well as Mortal Kombat. But yet nobody ever wants to talk about the Waxworks or Bloodstone. No, wait, not Bloodstone, Bloodstorm, I believe. It is insanely violent. Like, the best way to put it in perspective is, there is a way you can win a match without having any extremities. So you're just a stump, and the other guy is, well, I guess you just beat him with your head or whatnot. It's kind of one of those things where I have seen gameplay of it here and there, but I can only really stomach so much of the stuff. And on top of that, I find that I have to kind of be in a good mindset in order to be able to stomach said stuff. Which, well, it's annoying how inconsistent it is, because there are some times where I can, like, see some guy get ripped in half in, like, a movie or game or whatnot, and just be like, oh, that's gotta be painful. And then there's other times where I just don't sleep for months on end because the picture of that guy getting ripped to shreds just keeps haunting me. Might be a little too much of a psychological deep dive, but the only reason I like to bring it up is, well, it's because of this that I have been unable to watch License to Kill, the most violent and dark of the James Bond movies. Which is a bit of a pity, as people tell me that it is a very good movie. Well, sometimes. That's the fun thing about the Bond fandom, shall we say, is this idea that there's so many different varying opinions. Like, well, I feel like within the Star Wars community, a lot of people would say that objectively the originals are the best. And a lot of people would point out that The Empire Strikes Back is often considered as the best Star Wars movie. Now, if you were to ask people what the best James Bond movie is, you're going to get opinions all over the place. I think you're going to get some that are considered lesser entries, but I'm not really sure if any of them are really considered objectively bad. At least as far as I can tell. Like, I feel like that's the thing. Take, like, the unofficial movie, Never Say Never Again. There are a lot of people that are just like, yeah, you know, this should be part of the Blu-ray and DVD box set. And others are just like, what? It's like cheap cash in. It doesn't belong there. Can I pull this? Yeah. Ooh, ah. Well, I'm not finding the power brick, but I'm definitely finding those mini kits. Oh, that's the elevator, okay. Beam me up, Batgirl! It's kind of one of the issues I have, is whenever I try to do the whole beam me up Scotty thing, I can only say it like Richard Nixon from Futurama. Beam me up, Scotty! Okay, I feel like I'm just doing my best George C. Scott impression. It is not in the file! It is not! I'm trying to remember what other famous George C. Scott's moments there are. Well, I think a lot of people will point to Exorcist 3 as being some of George C. Scott's best work. Like, I think probably the most famous scene is... This is just what people tell me, I haven't seen the movie. Is when the demon starts trying to torment him, so he's just there going, yes, I believe, you son of a... I don't like to use such phrases, but I think you get the idea. I've also found if you want to do a good George C. Scott impression, it's very much in the throat. Now that's the best way to do it. Or at least that's how people impersonating George C. Scott sound. So the biggest one I can think about is... Well, going back to The Simpsons, man getting hit by football starring George C. Scott. Oh, my God. Okay, I gotta stop doing that. That's kind of hitting my throat. Yeah, all my hats off to... Well, let's see. When it comes to voice actors with very difficult lines, well, very difficult voices to do, so... I think a lot of people would probably, well, how in the world Frank Welker is able to do half the voices he does is pretty amazing to me, but, well, I think probably one of the biggest voices I think of was also done by Frank Welker.
Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. How in the world do you do this voice?
I know I'm just going to have a coughing fit if I do that for too long, so it's very impressive. I want to make sure. Is there any other... feel like it's perfectly in sync. See if there are any other pieces. So yes, that's definitely a pretty difficult voice, I think. I know a lot of people say the voice of Starscream is very like, how do you do that? But, other difficult voices, well... It'll come to me. Yeah, definitely Dr. Claw is definitely up there. I'm trying to remember if there's any other
sort of demon-sounding voices like this.
I feel like I'm just kind of doing my best Snoke impression there. I guess that'd be the thing. If I was ever doing a voice acting school, it's just like, ooh, is that the power brick? Yeah! So, like,
Dr. Claw's down here.
And then,
Snoke, if I was a little more breathy. There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
And then if any of you are big fans of Digimon,
Machine Dramon is just a little less than that. It's almost like a little higher up.
yeah, those are some pretty difficult voices. I guess maybe by extension, okay, that was a horrible Scooby-Doo impression. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Yoda's kind of down to here, would you say? I feel like I needed to add a little more deepness to it. Open the gate! A golden pig. So there's just a whole bunch of piggy banks. Oh, there's one. No, that is annoying. Let's see, I have to turn off the gas. Another explosion. Another explosion. Another place I need to set the bat bomb. Bonk. So now I can go around freely. Feed the pig! I get the feeling nobody is going to get that reference, but you never know. I've definitely said some more obscure stuff on this channel. Okay, so I've got 3 out of 4 piggy banks. I know there's got to be more. Alright, Bane, go over there. Oh, there's the last piggy bank. Yeah, somehow I should have figured as much. And there's the last piggy bank. Boom! I forget how long this level is. This game surprisingly has a lot of not only replayability, but yeah, if you're picking this game up used for like, I don't know, $15 or whatnot, there's a lot of time to spend in this if you want to unlock everyone. It's quite nice. It's one of those things where it's kind of 50-50, I find, with games these days. Is either they're so long, it's like, how is anybody expected to play this more than once? Like, that was definitely an extenuous circumstance. I was playing through Tears of the Kingdom. But if I wasn't held up trying to recover from surgery, I do not think I would have had said time to be able to dedicate into playing the game. And even now, I still have yet to beat it. In fact, you probably saw my attempt of trying to do the final boss on Betamax. I do hope I'm not being too annoying about the whole Betamax thing, but, well, it's kind of an accomplishment for me because it's something that I've been searching for a long time, and I'm just like, yes, the collection is complete. Well, I guess to say the collection is complete, I'd have to get a capacitance electric disc player. Which, the same guy that sold me the Betamax did say that he had a few working CED players, but $100 is, well, a little more than I want to spend for really just curiosity. To be able to see how Her Majesty's Secret Service looks like on capacitance electric disc system. Or more importantly, Dr. No, because, well, that's one of the games that one of the movies that I'm getting on Betamax, which I already also have on VHS, of a very similar vintage, actually. So I'm very curious to be able to compare the two. And I also have Dr. No on Laserdisc. I have a Laserdisc of the same vintage as the VHS tape, But I also have it in the first Connery collection. Which if you ever see the picture of it, it almost looks like Sean Connery love ballads. There's just something about his face being like so, I guess, airbrushed or painted into oblivion. It's like, that's not James Bond. That's some sort of like, you'll never find soulful singer. Dang, what was his name? Lou Rawls. Of course, I do know that Sean Connery has had a few scenes in his movies where he has sung. Probably in one of his oldest movies I know of is Darby O'Gill and the Little People, where he's like singing like an old Irish folk song, which is really just kind of hilarious. The idea that you have a very famous Scotsman playing an Irishman. It'd be like, I'm trying to think what the equivalent be. Oh, well, that's the end of the level. And dang it, I still did not find the last minute 10 times score. Why do we keep getting all the scores? I'd rather get the other kind of score, you know what I mean? No, I can do a better impression than that. Feed him something spicy, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm just doing my best Barney impression from The Simpsons. There's a poem by Longfellow, but I never drunk it, and I'll never know what it's like. Don't cry for me, I'm already dead. Alright, so that's been this episode. I'll be amazed if you were able to follow any of that dialogue. I hope you'll join me next time for more fun and excitement. Until then, keep having fun.